Yay! I'm talking about a titty show! So as some of you may know from my video talking about the anime I was going to be watching over the summer, I'm going to be talking about Monster Musume based off episode 1, my first impressions. Now honestly I went into this expecting it's just basically going to be, titty show and ecchi, basically just to get people hard or whatever, and a lot of it was classic ecchi tropes and a lot of the things that we've seen. I mean, even the end of the episode, the typical, yeah, like, shit that you see in almost every ecchi anime, whatever, so it definitely played up to its genre for a lot of it, but there were some actual things in there that caught me by surprise and actually got me a little bit interested. I'm not going to lie about that. For starters, one of the structures of it, and basically, as a matter of fact, let me talk about really quickly the premise or whatever. Basically, these monsters are kind of living and coinciding with humans, and there's like some peace treaty basically so that they can interact with one another, but there's a lot of strict laws and etc, etc. Now the beginning of this episode kind of reminded me of like DxD for a little bit, High School DxD, but it kind of more so plays on the slice of life and less on like the action like a DxD does. So it was more slice of life and more just like relaxed or whatever, and typical like, oh, her breasts are so big and they're in his face and all these sexual innuendos and stuff like that. So definitely had a lot of that. But the political aspects of it, and surprisingly, because I'm not like that big fan of politics, I'm not like, oh god, politics, they get me off, yeah, like, but the politics in this particular series and based off episode 1 were actually pretty interesting. Having these laws set up or whatever makes things where the environment actually gives a atmosphere that caters to something different besides just like, oh, typical, there's big tits or whatever. Like when the girl was constantly getting made fun of, if she hits humans, since she's like, one of these monsters or whatever, she'll get deported back. So when the dude actually defends her and punches the dude, I felt like that was actually nicely done and something a little bit, not necessarily unique, but something out of the bubble of just a typical ecchi. Like, I think these laws are going to make it so that, yeah, it's a slice of life and, it's a, for the most part, ecchi show or whatever, but it's going to have it do a little bit of a difference, I guess, from the norm. I mean, granted, for the most part, a lot of it was, again, it's a titty show. What do you expect? You know what I'm saying? You go into there expecting big tits and, just a bunch of groping and a lot of bullshit or whatever. And, of course, the main character, typical, like, oh, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Even though, granted, this show kind of gives an excuse for him to act like a super actual pussy where, like, oh, my God, I don't want to touch her or whatever, because he's going to go to jail if he tries to, grope on them bad boys. So it gives him an excuse to act like that or whatever. So I'm not that mad at this particular character because, I mean, who the fuck wants to go to jail for, I don't know, some people might, but yeah. And with all that being said, to be honest with you, based off Monster Musume episode 1, it's not really anything to go in depth with. Honestly, I think the art and animation looked really nice. I really enjoyed that. I felt like they put a decent amount of time into it. Granted, again, it's not like an action series where you got to see constant stuff going on or whatever, but the little action sequences that we did get when, like, Mia would swing her fin or whatever, and when the main dude, well, I can't remember his name, I think it's Kurusu, but she calls him darling, when he punched that dude, the animation actually looked really good, so that's a plus there. But I mean, as a whole, so far from what I've seen, I think the politics is a strong point of it. Aside from that, a lot of just same shit we've seen time and time again from different series, like, oh, I don't want to touch you and stuff like that. So I mean, it was fine for a first episode. It wasn't bad, honestly. Like, there's some ecchi that just come out and they're straight bad or even worse than bad, but it was actually decent for a first episode. I'm looking forward to seeing them playing more up with these laws or whatever, and with Smith coming in, and like eventually I think Smith will, my prediction here, have to mediate or something, because something's gonna happen where I feel like not necessarily a war of like action or whatever, but they're gonna cause a big scandal or whatnot, and that's where the law is going to come in, and I think Smith will actually have their back, because you can see that she somewhat cares about Mia, and she actually somewhat cares about Darling or Kurusu, whatever the case may be. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes, and to be honest with you, I might still check it out once in a while. I'm not going to review this on a weekly basis. I mean, I'd strangle myself if I had to say, hey, there was big tits every single goddamn week. It's like, we get it or whatever, but I'm actually kind of interested to see what they do with it. If they can actually be clever with using these laws and the politics of the world and whatnot, and the environment with people being assholes to the monsters, it could do something interesting. So maybe like a 6 out of 10 for this first episode, 6.5. I mean, again, the art animation was really solid. Some of the political aspects was cool, but a lot of what we've seen before. I mean, main character very similar to what we've seen before so many different times, like the Skunes and etc, etc. So not a complete breakaway from the mold, but it was trying to do something different, so that's pretty cool. Let me know what you guys thought of Monster Musume episode 1. Did you enjoy it? Did you feel like it's the same ecchi you've seen 1,000 times? Again, I felt it had some strong points to it, but it was still, I mean, treading along the mold of etchiness. And your overall thoughts, but that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm Finette World, and as always, people, have an awesome day and enjoy big boobs, why don't you?